I have benefited from the proliferation of franchise cricket all around the globe. And I continue to look forward to benefiting from these tournaments. However, the perception is not always the reality. Take, for example, the 100. Over the past 2 years, the 100 have lost $11.4 million. There are those who believe, some expert, when you add in the staging costs and the funds that they paid over to the MCC and the counties for supporting the tournament, the ECB is in the red by over 47 million US dollars for staging the 100 in the last 2 years. I brought this to your attention because many of us believe that franchise cricket is a wash with a countless amount of money that has no end to it. I said again, the perception is oftentimes differ from the reality. I recalled as a little boy going to school. In the late 80s, I was in high school, and my teacher then, physics teacher, name was Mr. Ketwaru from Guyana. And he told me a story which I would have said on this program before, where this gentleman, not dressing in the best of clothing, and always appeared to be dirty, and some would say one of those street persons. And every evening he would go to the bakery and he would purchase the stale bread. He always wanted the stale bread. One evening the goodly baker feels sympathetic, and being a good person, she decided to give him some fresh bread that evening. And she cut the fresh bread and put some butter in the middle of it. She wrapped it in her paper as usual. But the next morning, the gentleman came back to the bakery furious. They had to call the police because the fresh bread and the butter in it destroy a project that the artist was working on for months. The perception is not always the reality. As I've said, I have made money from franchise cricket personally, and it's a good thing, but it is not a bottomless pit of money. And the present model, in my opinion, has to be changed, has to be looked at. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. It's the first time since the start of the year that I'm going live, and I welcome you all to this 2024 edition of the Cricket Forum. I trust that you will all make a lot of money this year. I trust that you will have a happy year and that things will be just great for you. Recently, we heard that the Jamaica Tallawahs will not be taking part in this year's CPL due to a lack of support from the Jamaica government, and that the owner, Mr. Prasad, was just not breaking even unless he was getting that support from the Jamaican government. Now I'm disappointed that the Tallawahs will not be playing in Jamaica, just like most of us. Now I want to quote the Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister, Mr. Rowley, to show you that the issues that the Jamaica Tallawahs are facing is not unique only to the Tallawahs, but the CPL on our own. This was what Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, said. They approached us and made all kinds of demands of us, but we did not fall to what they were demanding. Remember, 1 year CPL went to St. Kitts? That had to do with what they were demanding from us, and we did not give it to them. He never said that. That last part I added to it. Rowley had made it clear that there are benefits to staging the CPL in his republic. However, he had made it clear also that what CPL was demanding from Trinidad was just too much. He went on further to say, we can't just take taxpayers' resources and throw it into what is, and this is a crucial part here, into what is a commercial private sector enterprise. So we did eventually come to an agreement. The support, however, that Trinidad and Tobago gave to the CPL was more in kind rather than in cash, with the organizers benefiting from concessions on stadium fees, policing, and other government service. There is no doubt that franchise cricket have made a number of persons wealthier, and I welcome it. Last year, 2022, when Pooran was bought for almost $2 million at the IPL, there was a lot of criticism and a lot of pushback from persons in India and even some persons in the Caribbean about the amount of money that Pooran was making. I did a video then, and that video is in this description, so you may see it. Because there was an incident one day. I was walking past a tire repairman, and I probably would have told this story in the past. And that tire repairman was criticizing a middle-class citizen in his community. And I said to that gentleman, if every person in your community owns a motor vehicle, how much richer would you be today? I was trying to teach him that the richer the persons are around you, the richer those persons are, the richer you will be once you have the attitude and aptitude to grow. And that was the message I was trying to get to the tireman. So when persons are making money from franchise cricket, I welcome it. I love it. And as I said in the beginning, I have personally benefited from franchise cricket. Now, what is it then about franchise cricket? The thing is that with the proliferation of franchise cricket, and the ICC have scheduled 777 matches between the full members of the ICC to be played over the next 4 years. And that I have also done a video from as far back in August 2022 saying that this scheduling of match is crazy, it is chaotic, and it's going to cause confusion and trouble. And we are seeing that with the South African squad that is going to New Zealand, the West Indies squad that is going to Australia. And there's a clash between T20 Franchise Cricket and Test cricket in particular. Back in 2022 in August, I stated then that what needed to be done were clear windows for international cricket and franchise cricket. Persons like Sheldon Smith, my good friend, pushed back and said that it can never work. Will be too complex. But I still remained that the only way to solve these issues is that there must be clear scheduling. There must be clear windows for T20 franchise cricket or the 100 and international cricket. There must be clear windows. The present situation cannot continue. And in my opinion, I believe that both T20 cricket and Test cricket can survive. And they both need each other's to survive. It is not all okie dokie in T20 cricket as some persons would want to believe. It is not. I gave you the numbers from the 100. On the thumbnail, you would have seen where Nicholas Pooran would have played in the Bangladesh Premier League in 2019. And up to 2021, he was still not yet fully paid for those matches. In fact, Pooran had paid his own plane fare to Bangladesh. All those money have not yet been returned to him at the last time of checking. I do not know the man's private business, but publicly, up to 2021, he was not paid. There's trouble also in the PSL. We remember the situation with James Franklin from Australia. And speaking of Australia, we heard last year where Sevens Channel sued Cricket Australia for the poor quality of the T20 franchise cricket that was playing there. So it's not all okie dokie in T20 franchise cricket as some of us to be led to believe. At the ICC annual general meeting in June last year, the ICC have moved a resolution, have accepted it, that no T20 franchise cricket team will be allowed to play more than 4 foreigners in their starting 11. Major League Cricket and International League T20 have been given a few years to rectify this. As you know, in those leagues, they can play up to 9 and 6 foreigners respectively. But they have given a few years and have been asked to correct this in a timely manner. It therefore means that there will be less opportunity for persons who see T20 cricket as the holy grail and to make them future better. Speaking of Test cricket, I remember last year at this time, especially after the resignation of Ben Stokes, many persons were saying that that's the start, the beginning of the death of ODI cricket. That was the narrative last year. What's the narrative this year? The death of Test cricket have begun. That's the narrative this year. Why has it shifted from ODI cricket to Test cricket? The numbers at the ODI World Cup shows everyone that ODI cricket is alive and well with 59 billion persons, with 59 million persons watching the finals. 59 million persons watching the final of the ODI World Cup. It shows that ODI cricket is alive and well. So they switch to attack Test cricket. And the ICC have moved forward many proposals and many recommendations. I do not have time to go through all of them. But I think one of the most important one that they have recommended is that a pool be set aside to offset the costs for those members who are losing money from playing test cricket. So they have set aside a reserve pool to underwrite the expense of test cricket, especially when Australia, India, or England are not involved in those matches. And that's a good step from the ICC and in the right direction. So I believe, in my opinion, and I could go on this forever. In my opinion, I believe that both T20 cricket and Test cricket and ODI cricket can all survive. It comes down, though, to the willingness to schedule and create a clear window. This might be the biggest challenge because there are some members, some ICC members. Take, for example, the BCCI. When the recommendation was put forward on July 13 last year, of the cap on overseas players in T20 franchise cricket, the BCCI voted against it. That was on the Wednesday. But yet still, they come back on the Thursday and voted for it. So sometimes the biggest problem that we have going forward is egos, pure egos. Don't be led by the perception that there's this infinite amount of money in T20 franchise cricket. It is good for the game. T20 franchise cricket have brought many persons to cricket. And as a result, they are getting better broadcast deals. But how many of them really making money apart from the IPL? How many? I have said my bit. As I've said, this is a topic that I could speak on for the entire day. But I'll now give you a chance to express your opinions. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. Juna Benjamin, great to have you here. Great to have you here. Thank you, Juna Benjamin, the legend. Mr. Casanova, another legend of this community. Brian H., good morning and welcome. Juna Benjamin is saying, Os, what do you think the second string team South Africa sent to New Zealand? The legend, Juna Benjamin, we can discuss that at another time, especially in some watch-alongs or so on. But this morning, I just want to stay focused on T20 and Test cricket. So thank you for your comment. You're a legend. It's indeed a very poor team that they are sending. And hopefully, as I think Steve Ward said, the ICC will step in and stop this nonsense. Steve Rossio, Jamaican government must invest in sport, including cricket. Steve Russell, I got that. But to say that the Jamaica government must invest in sport, including cricket, I will ask you this question because I want to be honest and fair to both parties. I'm a sport person. I love sport. When I was in high school, I was coaching 5 different sports: track and field, football. When I was teaching in high school, track and field, football, cricket, lawn tennis, and netball. So I'm a genuine sport person. I did physical education at Michael, and I would want to see a greater investment in sport. So I am with you on the topic. But the question is that you said must invest, and you never said must invest more. So you give me the impression that the Jamaican government is not investing in sport. So is it that your position is that the government is not investing in sport, or they should invest more? And if they should invest more, how much is it that they are presently investing in sport? If you give me those numbers and let us have a discussion around it, and that would be very interesting. Alain Payne is saying too much corruption. And looking at corruption, we know that the India Cricket Board, the BCCI, is getting at least 4 times more money than any other member of the ICC. Now, that is directly proportionate in some way to what India is earning for the ICC. Because the biggest amount of money coming into the ICC by far is from India. By far, the biggest amount. And so, in my opinion, it is only fair that India gets the biggest cut from the ICC, from what the ICC surplus is. I think it's only fair. One of the concerns that India have expressed, and I don't know if the BCCI have expressed it openly, but journalists in India have expressed that there's too much corrupt cricket board in the world that is getting Indian people money to do corrupt things. You know, so as you mentioned the word corrupt, that is something that the ICC anti-corruption unit has to look into, and that is something that maybe member countries, member association need to be more accountable to the ICC. In other words, the ICC needs to hold these members more accountable. Mr. Casanova, if Tallawahs had won again in 2023, would they have sold it? Now, I think that they would. I don't have an issue with the Tallawahs, with the owner of the Tallawahs selling it back to CPL. I do not have an issue with that, especially they are moving to Antigua, and in their interview, they have said that they would now be able to break even, because they were not breaking even as the Tallawahs, because they were not getting the financial support from the Jamaican government. And the Antiguan government would be providing that support. So I do not have an issue with the situation regarding the former owner of the Tallawahs selling it back to the CPL and moving to Antigua. No issue there. And I think whether or not they have won, they would have gone. Now, in my opinion, it is not a bad thing that they sold the Tallawahs back to the CPL. I am disappointed that they did, but I understand the reason that they did it, and I think that they did it for the right reason. However, on the flip side of it, I do not think it is a bad thing. If the Tallawahs has Jamaican ownership, I believe that the government would probably be more attuned to lending support to the Tallawahs. And more business persons, more business entities in Jamaica would more attune to sponsoring the Tallawahs. So that could be a good thing. The other thing is that if the Jamaica Tallawahs is bought by an IPL franchise, that could also be a good thing. So I think from every angle, it's a win-win. I think it's a win for Chris Prasad, and I think that it's a win that the Tallawahs was sold back to the CPL. Jamaica is playing over 55 different sports, and cricket is not in the top 2, sadly. Now, if you look at it, if you look at Jamaica cricket as part of West Indies cricket, because internationally, Jamaica cricket is West Indies cricket on the international scene. Now, the lowest rank in any format of cricket for Jamaica, I think, is 10th, and that is in ODI cricket. West Indies ranked 10th in international cricket, and by extension, that is Jamaica ranking. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the only 2 sports that rank higher than 10th in Jamaica is netball and football. And while football is getting more money than cricket, netball is not getting 1/10 of what cricket is getting. South Africa made a profit last year, man. Now, I never said that all T20 franchise cricket is not making a profit. South Africa made an operational profit last year because of the investment of the IPL owners into the South Africa T20 franchise. I think I was looking at the numbers, but Ladrick, Memva, anyone can say that South Africa made a profit. I believe, I think when I saw the numbers last year, they were making a profit, but because of some threat to the power grid, most of the profit that they were making would have gone back into purchasing equipment to offset the unreliable power supply. So that's my understanding of the situation in South Africa. When the numbers originally came in, they were making a profit. But due to the unreliability of the power supply in South Africa, they had to invest back that profit into putting mitigation in place to offset that unreliable power supply. So Beaver, give me the numbers. Because anyone can say South Africa make a profit. Anyone can say the Jamaica Tallawahs suffered a loss. And that's what Chris Prasad said. But when you really look at it, did South Africa made a profit without you providing the numbers? Did the Jamaica Tallawahs made a loss without Chris Prasad providing the numbers? Arjun, welcome to the show and happy new year to you. Yes, Breaker Benjamin, I know you will understand. Thank you for your support all the time. Do you think West Indies should schedule more matches at Sabina Park? I do think so. I would love to see more matches at Sabina Park. It is my home venue, and it's a long time that I haven't been to Sabina Park. I think the last time was August or September 2022 when we played against New Zealand. Nick Vikers, welcome to the show. It's bad in England too. They had to finish the entire Ashes by the end of July so that August could be devoted to the 100, which is losing money, Nick Vikers. And so the point that I'm really making is that the perception about T20 franchise cricket and franchise cricket on a whole, like the 100, is that it is a savior of mankind. There is this bottomless pit of money that is available in T20 cricket. I believe, and this is my conviction, that the present model of T20 cricket is unsustainable for most countries. That is my belief. I believe that both T20 cricket and international cricket can survive, and both of them will make a lot of money. But there must be clear windows in the year where only T20 cricket is played and where only international cricket is played. In that I mean T20 franchise cricket. I have been saying this from August 2022, and the videos are in the description to confirm that. There must be clear windows for T20 franchise cricket, including the 100, and international cricket. And then both of them will survive. And so thank you all for your comment. Travis Piasso, I saw your comment, but I cannot read those comments as I keep this thing non-political. Thank you all for tuning in. I trust that you will have a wonderful year. And coming up next week, the West Indies will be playing their first match in Australia against, I think, the Prime Minister's 11. See you then, and have a great weekend. Thank you all for tuning in.